Yes.
So I realized, that I couldn't do this all alone. So originally I was doing this once a day. I was updating some things at the end of the day, and then we spread out to twice a day. We were putting out 2 newsletters and 2 Substacks every day. It was just out of control. Yeah. And then we were doing a show on top of it. It was I was losing my mind. And then we decided at about Thanksgiving that I'm going to cut that back to once a day. We're going to make it noon, and then it gives me all day to do the update. But also because after the summer, I saw all these different amazing small content creators and recognized that we could the collective power of us together is a lot greater than each of us individually. So I contacted each one of them, and we knew each other because I had been sharing their stuff in my newsletters anyway. They had already been part of Independent Left News. They'd already been included in Leftist.today, and I share their articles and their videos on Instagram and on Twitter. I had some of them on auto tweet for every single one of their videos. So when I contacted them, they knew who I was. I'd been on a couple of their shows even. Said, look, we can all kind of put our heads together and collaborate and put together and become a network, kind of like MCSC did, where we're all independent. We all have our own channels. We have a shared YouTube channel, which becomes a backup. So if we lose our channel, we still have somewhere to stream to. B, we're going to be able to do network streams and collaborate and do all kinds of things with other networks, as well as internally, and have one-on-ones or marathon streams like we did for the student debt thing. We can help each other with technology. We can help each other with guests on each other's shows, and help each other discover each other's fans, friends, and audiences, which is the whole idea. And we're all small, so there's no ego here, really. And the idea is that we amplify each other, and we lift each other. So we share when somebody's live there. If you put it into our group, well, everybody else is going to share that around too. And it's been amazing to see all these people come together. We need more of that to work with everybody. Yeah.
Yes. No, we need more of that. Yes, I think that we're starting to see that. I think that, we have RBN now, Revolutionary Blackout Network. We have MCSC, which I'm a part of. Nico House created MCSC. And Nico is one of my favorite people in the whole wide world because he has a relatively decent following. He's doing pretty good for himself, and that he still reaches back and pulls other people up. I mean, he came on Facts on the Ground, the show that I host with Jesse Zerwell. He came on that show. I think we had like 300 subscribers. There was no ego, and he has a right to have ego. Like, he's pretty big. He's working at RT now and all this stuff. So but he definitely has always been really all about like reaching back and helping other people. But you're right, we do need this kind of community. I mean, I think Nick Cruz from RBN, that's what he said. We need this community of independent content creators, because as we're seeing it like today with Hard Lens Media being censored yet again, there's strength in numbers, and so we can come together across our networks and across our channels and stuff to like stand together and to fight back against the censorship when it happens. So I want to talk about this more with you after the break. We do have to take just a quick break here, but we're going to have more with Indy right after this here on TNT Radio. So before the break, we were talking about kind of the community that independent media and independent content creators are kind of building amongst ourselves, which I really cannot speak to the importance of more. It is, as we're seeing with the censorship that's really just running rampant, it's become like it really is mind blowing what's happening right now. But the ability that we have to kind of come together and stand together, there is strength in numbers. And so when one of us is censored, we all fight back. We all stand up for each other. And I mean that wholeheartedly, even for people I disagree with. There are people who who despise me, who when they get censored, I speak out against it because it's the principle of it. So to me, it's been very encouraging to kind of witness the community that we're all kind of building. And I'm hoping that it continues to grow. I don't really see a whole lot of ego. Maybe I'm blind to it, but I don't really see a whole lot of ego involved in what we're doing.
No, not at all. Well, it depends on where. The legacy portion of it, I would say that there's some ego over trying to protect their income, trying to protect the audience base. And look, I think these people, and I don't fault them. They've been at this a long time. They've dedicated themselves. They don't have any, well, to a point, except that they want to protect their income base. I understand that to a point. And there's only a limited amount of time that people have every day to listen to, watch, and consume content. So they want to make sure that it's their content being consumed. Now, what they're doing in the process is trying to suppress and ignore and dismiss important voices. A lot of times it's voices of color that are on the rise, and it's smaller channels. Again, and you gave a shout out to Nico. I want to give a shout out to Nico for a couple of reasons. First off, his recognizing the importance and value of writers and writing, and supporting people like Robbie Yeager to begin with, and bringing Robbie into MCSC. I just adore Robbie, and you and I have been two of Robbie's biggest champions, and I give you a ton of credit for all the amplification. I remember I still have the graphics from, was it Earth Day last year? We did a whole pitch, a whole push about the Colonial Pipeline that he's been so amazingly covering for so long already, and the spill that's happened there, and your efforts, again, as an activist, to help raise awareness, and just got me kicked off the couch. Hey, can we make some graphics? Can we make some animated gifs? That would never have happened if you hadn't said something, if he hadn't been covering it, if you guys weren't part of MCSC. So again, shout out to Nico for that, for bringing people together, for recognizing smaller channels, and for continuing to stream as well. Again, I give the man a ton of credit. I know he's controversial. He says stuff I disagree with. He may like people I don't like. You know what? That's life. You know, that's
right.
But you give him credit for what he's done, and man, what he's accomplished. And it's
Wait
still
a
just
second.
Early, and
hold on a minute. Are you saying that you can be friends with somebody that you don't agree with 100% of the time? Is that what you're saying to me right now? That's possible? What?
Okay, I know. It's a big. I know.
We joke
secret.
because for our listeners who are potentially not aware of the ridiculousness that is the online quote unquote left, which they're not really all that left, but there is a real divide where there are certain people who think that you cannot have conversations with, work with, whatever, with people who disagree with you on anything, which is ridiculous and infantile. And I don't subscribe to that way of thinking at all, and never will. I am completely capable of having conversations with people that I don't agree with. That's not to say that all of those conversations will go well. Sometimes I get heated, and sometimes I get, it might end up in a blow up fight. That's totally possible, but I'm not afraid to have conversations with people that I do not agree with. And I think that that's healthy. I think that's a good thing. We're not all going to
agree. There's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping about who's good and who's bad, and who you shouldn't be talking to because they don't believe in this or that, or they don't support that, even though they do, and they claim that they do, and everything they do says that they do. Their actions speak louder than their words, though their words align with those actions. And it's never good enough for them, and it makes some of us crazy, and therefore anyone that is aligned with them at all or supports them ends up on the canceled side as well. And cancel culture is rampant on the left as well amongst itself. And again, it's a self. We eat each other all day long. We cancel them, and our circle's been getting smaller and smaller. I know we've talked about this on Action for Assange. How we don't see the Facebook groups growing. We don't see the Twitter counts really growing among outside the community, people that are already in alignment with what we're doing. We're not bringing in necessarily enough new people with our ideas. And why is that? I mean, part of it is the narrative management is so out of control, coming from the 15 corporate sources that control what everybody's talking about. Okay. Right. Again, it's Netflix, and it's Disney Plus, and it's Apple Plus, and it's Hulu, and it's Viacom, and CBS, and Comcast, and News Corp. All these corporations are really controlling the narrative. Okay. And they're in concert with the administration, and the tech companies, Facebook, Meta, Alphabet, all of them, there's a revolving door of employees to federal employees. So you see all of this happening. And again, that's why we have to build outside independent structures to break through all of that. Russell Brand is doing a phenomenal job of it. Jimmy Dore, much to everybody's chagrin, Russell Brand. Yeah. Russell Brand is doing, how did we miss that? better than I could do How Do We Miss It. I almost want to stop doing
amazing.
my show.
He just
he does. And you did Facts on Friday, which is very similar to my show as well. I'm like, God, I can dock the ship now. I can stop doing my show because you guys are covering those kind of stories now.
Yeah.
And it makes it harder for me to find good stories.
It's important to find stories that aren't getting any coverage and cover them because it's happening. I mean, they love to throw the same 5 or 6 stories in your face, and there will also be the kind of dominating, theme of the week or whatever of the news cycle. And so like right now, everybody's talking about Ukraine. Not to say that that's not important. Yep. Obviously, we need to talk about Ukraine, but there are a lot of other things happening that are getting missed because everybody's focused on Ukraine. And so it's really important to find. But Russell Brand, I don't know if you saw his recent kind of rebuttal to the criticisms against him. It is brilliant. It is so really good. Just so brilliant. Good. It's so good. So good. And the criticisms against him are just ridiculous. Obviously on a much smaller scale, I get those criticisms too. I know Jimmy Dore gets them. I know Convo Couch gets them. And, it's this weird thing where, and you kind of mentioned like, why is the quote unquote left, which I genuinely hate labels. I'm really done kind of calling myself a leftist because most people who identify as left, I don't have anything in common with them. But I think that a lot of
this is independent now.
Yes, but I think a lot of this is that it's this the left, quote unquote left, and I'm using that very loosely because I genuinely do not think most of these people who I'm speaking about right now are legitimate leftists in any sense of reality. But they are they become so full of themselves and they're so condescending and self-righteous and they look down their noses at anybody who they perceive to be less than or guilty of wrongthink or whatever. And it's the most just juvenile, infantile display of ridiculousness that I've ever seen because, I get attacked on a regular basis because I'm willing to speak to people on the right. I am friends with people like Magnus. I'm friends with people like Olivia Rondeau. I'm friends with people like Reed Coverdale. I don't have, we disagree. We disagree on a lot of things, but I am still able to value their perspectives and value their friendship and recognize that we do have things in common. But I get attacked for that on a regular basis. And there are people who literally think that anybody to the right of Bernie Sanders is like a literal Nazi.
Red Brown. Come on, Red Brown. Now,
Red Brown. The Red Brown
right now on Discord. He goes, labels are bad, okay? That's Reed's favorite line. Labels are bad. TikTokers get info from State Department on Ukraine. So that was the other thing you wanted to point out. Thank you for bringing up Ukraine because the same people who have spent the last 2, 3, 4 years calling me a Nazi and calling me a fascist-adjacent Red Brown Alliance person, those people are now cheering on actual Nazis. Yes, they got punch a Nazi in their bio. And they're cheering on Ukrainian Nazis. It's just that are saran wrapping people to polls, pulling down their pants and smacking their asses for stealing a loaf of bread. I mean, the stuff that's happening is beyond. Is absolutely beyond. Holy crap! Yeah.
So my message to people on the right, I really want to get this across. If you are on the right, please hear me right now. That is not the left. Those people are not the left. They are loud and they may if you think that somebody like an AOC or Nancy Pelosi is that's not the left. To me, the people who I really do hate the labels because I feel like they're always co-opted and used to divide, but that's not what the left stands for. The left is anti-war, anti-imperialism, anti-censorship, anti-surveillance, all of that stuff. We have a lot more in common than you think. And so there's this very, concentrated effort to make you think that we don't have those things in common. And I think a lot of this stuff from the quote unquote left, that's intentional and it's meant to push people farther apart. And so not to say that all of them are ops or whatever. I think a lot of them are genuine people who just bought into the bullshit. You know what I mean? But yeah, just my message to the right.
Pro-cannabis, pro-personal freedoms as well.
Pro-guns. I'm pro-gun. That's, it's not the left.
Some are, some aren't.
Yeah, well, I mean, I am. I'm saying me
personally. I'm for freedom. Yes, freedom to own one and be responsible with it. Yes, responsible ownership, sure.
Yes, but I just there's this real concerted effort to get people on the left to think that people on the right are all irredeemable racists, and then to convince people on the right that all leftists are these snobby, condescending pricks who want nothing to do with you. That's just not the case.
Social
That's, at least
justice
for me,
warriors. Yep.
Yes.
The SCWs, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with fighting for social justice. Like, I support gay rights. I think gay people should, you know what I mean? Like that, I support all of that stuff. But it's not that whole stereotype is way off.
Yeah, other than wanting like healthcare, like there's not very much alignment anymore. It's kind of sad. It's like they kind of follow the Democratic Party line of corporatism and follow whatever the narrative is. Again, so blue and yellow flags all day long. Don't question the narrative at all. Look at what happened. Oh my God. We covered the other night, Reef and I, on How Do We Miss That? We talked about Jordan Schachtel's article about Brett Renaud and the narrative that was crafted immediately after it was reported that he was killed in the car. As it turns out, it was small arms fire. It wasn't a shell or a mortar, and there were no Russians in the area, but he was killed by the Russians for sure. 100%. It was Putin. It was a shell. And like from AFB to the Associated Press to Reuters to every major outlet, again, you had a statement from Boris Johnson within 1 hour. How the hell does that happen?
Right.
The whole thing was a narrative that was crafted, okay? Yes, and somebody said in the comments, like, I hope it doesn't turn out to be good old Shoe. And I was like, oh my God, that was whoever wrote that, just because it was right out of Wag the Dog. My bullshit detector was screaming. And the minute that they posted it up to that more, I said, this is a story being crafted, because within 1 hour, the entire world had the exact same story and nobody questioned it.
Yeah, no, and that's how it works. And there's no question. There's no questioning. Nobody questions anything. They're just like, oh, yep, that's obviously that's true. And it's bizarre to me. I was just talking about this with Vanessa. People who lived through Iraq are just mindlessly accepting the current narrative without any. And it's what is happening, really? And now, if you, God forbid, post anything different, if you post anything that disputes that questions that, you're losing your channel. They're taking you down. It happened to Vanessa. I mean, she got taken down by Twitter. It's why I'm following her on Telegram now. And again, we're playing platform whack-a-mole until look, we're always going to try to be one step ahead of the cops. And that's one thing, it's really funny because again, when I was into sports, I had once written into Jim Rome, who had done a call-in show, and I was watching on that night. It's like, what are you going to do about all these steroid cheats? And he's like, you know what? The cheaters are always going to be one step ahead of the cops. And in a way, that's kind of how they see us, is we're cheating the system. We're getting around their narrative management. We're always going to be one step ahead because we're always going to find a new platform, but we're always going to have to stay one step ahead and keep searching for those new platforms. Keep expanding, keep trying. Gilded is a new Discord alternative already that some people are looking towards. Okay, everybody's talking about Matrix by Element, which is an open sourced messaging communication platform. How do we stay one step ahead at all times so that we're playing that platform whack-a-mole, but we're not getting hit and we don't lose communication with everybody around us? That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're doing in canceling people off of Twitter. All right. They canceled Luis, for example. Luis he's a green guy. Like, once in a while he trolls and he posts up some links to things that he questions. Next thing you know, he's completely gone from Twitter. His voice is erased, eliminated, and he can't set up any more accounts. And it's like, he's not going to bother, because why bother when you're just going to get knocked off anyway? And all the connections, all the friends. By the way, catch Luis on IndieNews.Network stream on Wednesday night. We're going to do a collaborative roundtable for everyone in the network's invited. I think there's about 13 or 14 people that are showing up, and we have a special guest also that's going to be arriving, hopefully, Jesse Jett. Yay! So Jesse Jett was just on the show yesterday.
I know that. Yeah. So was Kit. I just I was talking to Kit Saturday night, and he was we were hyping his interview on your show. So excited for that. And hopefully some of the INN people will end up soon on Hardlands Media. And again, we're going to be doing more with MCSC folks. We've already been, I know Reeves had you on his show a couple times, and I think fees up soon, and you guys are both going to end up on Friends of Indie Left. I'm sure in the next 6-8 weeks. I'm only doing that.
You keep telling me that. I'm waiting for my invitation, sir. Still waiting.
Again, so I've done 5. Okay, and during Black History Month, I wanted to interview women of color, which is exactly what I did. I got to interview Afeni, and I got to talk to the Banks sisters. But you are right up next on the list. You know what? I'll just invite you right now. My next Friends of Indie Left, I want it to be Misty. So we'll work on exactly what the
you guys heard it here. You heard it here first.
Yep.
Don't let.
Yep. You're going to be the next one. I'm not doing another. Yes. I'm not doing another one until I get Misty on the show next. Okay. So
good. Sold.